Imagine hitting 30 and realizing that you missed out on some of the most important lessons that life was trying to teach you. I am 30 right now, and some of the most important lessons came the hard way through travel, heartbreak, going broke a few times, and eventually rebuilding myself. Today I want to share 30 lessons that I have learned in the last 30 years that I have been on this planet, with real stories so you might learn from my mistakes. The first one is saying no, because that is literally gonna keep your peace. In my 20s, I would say yes to everything just because I was afraid of missing out. I was afraid of being boring. At all costs, I wanted to say yes because I didn't want people to have a bad impression of myself, even if that meant that I was burning out myself. I learned that protecting my peace is so much more valuable than saying yes to keep the peace. I would say to try to say no this week at least once to something that you feel like you have to say yes to, even though if it's a small thing. The second one is friendships evolve. It's okay to let go of some. I lost a lot of friends like all of you, and right now I realize that I just want to focus on the ones that really want to be there and that are supporting the woman that I'm becoming. The third one is not everyone deserves access to you. This is something that I'm still learning on a daily basis. After years of being way too available, I started limiting who I gave my time to, and I felt so much more free. The fourth one is love doesn't mean that you have to lose yourself. I spent a complete decade trying to shape my life around somebody else, and I completely lost some part of myself, and I had to really relearn who I was. Number 5 is peace is so much more important than people pleasing. I'm not gonna lie, people pleasing is so draining because you're constantly going for the external validation, and the minute I let go of that, I felt so much more peace for myself. I felt so much more happy, and it literally changed the quality and the energy of my life. Let's go to money and career. The sixth one is financial literacy and freedom. I bought an apartment at the age of 19, and I quickly realized that adulting is so overrated and so expensive. I even went broke and had a few times where buying groceries felt impossible, and that experience truly taught me that budgeting is power. That is not something that they teach you in high school or even in university, and I feel like we should put more time and effort into that because there's literally no one that teaches us that. What I do right now is I work with budgeting sheets, so I write down everything that comes in and I write down everything that comes out, and that gives me a clear view of what's going on in my financial life. The seventh one is skills beat titles every single time. I have worked a lot of jobs. I did radio hosting, I did modeling, I worked in hospitality, and with all those jobs, I realized that I have learned so much from those jobs. Even though that was not something that I saw myself doing for the long term, I still learned so much more than any fancy title could ever. What you could do is list 3 or 4 or 5 skills that you learned from your previous jobs, previous experiences that you could sell in the future. The 8th lesson is that jobs you hate will still teach you so much. My first company went broke right after I bought my apartment. I know it was brutal, I'm not gonna lie, it was a really dark time, but those things really learned me how to be resilient and how to be resourceful. What you could do is pull one lesson from one of your worst jobs, no matter what it was, and write it down and be honest with yourself. What is it that job truly taught you? And that is a skill that you can take into the future, no matter how big or small it is. Number 9 is it is so important to network because your network is your net worth. I've heard that so many times before, but I've never really understood what it meant until now. The people I met through traveling, working abroad, or even working abroad opened so many doors for me, and that was because those connections were real and not just transactional. The 10th lesson is that timelines are myths. This is still something that I have to learn myself because I feel like I'm behind all the time, especially because I did turn 30 this year, and I felt like there were so many things on my list that I felt like I needed to have and I don't have right now. But there's also so many things that I wanted to have or I was working for in the last 5 years and are now just magically appearing on my path. But all those detours that I made truly became my own experience. Let's go to health and habits. The 11th lesson I learned is that consistency is so much more important than the intensity of the work. When I settled into small routines like eating clean, but also going to the gym every week, journaling, meditating, I saw such big results, and not overnight, but throughout the years. What you could do is start one habit tomorrow, write it down. For example, start with your lemon water tomorrow instead of your coffee, and try to keep it for the next 7 days. The 12th lesson is sleep is non-negotiable. I know I am still very bad at that, but I already understand that it's not something that I should feel guilty about, that I need a lot of sleep, but it's so essential if you want to thrive in today's world. In very chaotic periods, I would sacrifice my sleep just to work more, just to get my to-do lists finished by the end of the day. And now I realize that sleeping or rest in general is not a luxury. It's really essential. The 13th lesson is that movement should be joyful. I remember 7 or 8 years ago, I was literally punishing my body every day. I was not eating enough. I was not sleeping enough, and I was working out a lot because I hated my body. I was doing a lot of modeling, and the modeling industry told me that I needed to look a certain way. So I did not love myself at all, and I was overworking. I was someone that always loved the gym. I always was very sporty. I love doing or trying out new things when it comes to sports. But at that point in my life, I started hating it because it was something I had to do. And it was something that I was punishing my body for. If you could find something that you truly like, whether that's Pilates, boxing, going for a walk, or even run, stick to that. If you love it, it will be so much easier for you to stick to it. The 14th lesson is small habits will eventually compound. Eating better, working out weekly, as I mentioned before, they will eventually stack up really, really fast, and you won't even notice it. The 15th lesson is mental health is also health. For a while, I thought that it was weak to ask for help. I grew up with a single mom, and I saw her do everything by herself, and I thought, like, if she could do it, then I can do it. But it doesn't work like that. You are allowed to ask for help, especially when it comes to mental health. I remember when I first broke up with my ex-partner, I literally cried myself to sleep. I woke up wishing that I didn't woke up. And I had a lot of friends around me that were willing to help, but I was just afraid to ask for the help that I needed because I didn't want to put it out there because that would make me weak. Now I realize that asking for help is such a strong and powerful move to make. If you feel like this, please reach out to someone that you trust or some professional help, because this is not something that you have to deal with on your own. Going over to self-discovery and growth. The 16th lesson is travel alone at least once. I started traveling by myself when I was 17. I traveled to the States by myself, and I can give you this on a piece of paper right now. That was the best decision that I ever did because I grew so much. I became so much more mature in such a short notice. I learned about new cultures, new people. I learned about myself and that it's okay to be different, because I felt different for a very long time. And once I traveled outside my country by myself, I realized that there's so many other people that feel exactly the same. That trip really expanded how I saw myself and how I saw the world. The 17th lesson is comparison steals all of your joy. I know that this is a huge meme and a huge quote on every platform, but it is so true. I used to compare myself to models, people that were doing better than me, people that had more money than me, people that were living in countries that I wanted to live in, and that stole so much of my time and so much of my confidence. If you have someone in your neighborhood or someone online that you're following that triggers this side of you, you can mute them or unfollow them. I know it sounds very easy, but that's what I do all the time. The 18th lesson is that failure teaches you way more than anything else ever could. I went broke a few times trying to prove myself. I had a few debts, I had a few hard times, and those failures truly learned me how to deal with financial but also personal lessons. The 19th lesson is define your identity yourself, for yourself. Modeling once defined me. I was literally starving myself, and this goes to show how harmful external validations can be. I now choose to reframe my words beyond my appearance. 20th lesson is healing is not linear at all. After a few painful heartbreaks, I felt broken, I felt lost, and healing took a lot of time, and it's not something that you can rush into. It's something that just comes and goes. You have to work on it yourself. You have to try to get yourself back as soon as possible, of course, but give yourself the time. It's not something you can say like in 3 months, I want to be over this person or I want to be over this heartbreak. Yes, you have to work on it on a daily basis. And if you don't, then this is going to haunt you for the rest of your life. I truly believe in that. But it's not something you can say or you can tell yourself like, okay, in the next 6 months, I want to be completely over this person, because it doesn't happen that way. You have to take baby steps every day, and that's the only way that you can heal your heart yourself. Let's go over to mindset shifts for your future self. The 21st lesson is that gratitude truly reframes your life. It's very easy to get lost in someone else's life, but if you could just look at yourself and how much you have grown throughout the years, even if it was just a month ago, how far you've come, if you could just write that down and look how far you've come, I can promise you that that is such a better way to compare your growth than if you would do through someone else. The 21 lessons is forgive your past self. You made choices in the past because at that time you thought it was the right choice. If you look back right now and you're like, why did I make that choice? At that time, it was the best you could think of. So forgive yourself, please, if you made a wrong choice. This is also something that made you who you are today. If you would have chosen another route, it would have completely changed your life maybe. So be thankful for the choices that you made. I was wasting so much of my energy trying to resent my younger decisions, and letting go of that freed me so much. The 23rd lessons is you can start or restart at any age. I moved to Dubai when I was 24 and I came back when I was around 25, 26. And at that point I felt like I failed, because I was like, now I have to go back home, tell my mom, tell my sister that it didn't work out or it was not for me, and I'm already 26. At the age of 30, I broke up with my long-term partner. I quit my job and I reinvented myself. This goes to show that it is actually never too late to reset your life and reinvent yourself. Because at this point in my life, I feel like I'm climbing a rock that I could never see months or years ago. The 24th lesson is that uncertainty contains so much possibility. I feared the unknown after big changes. If I can give you one tip, do one thing that scares you this week that is out of your comfort zone. Lesson 25 is nobody you will ever meet has it all figured out. Even when I compared myself to people who I thought had it perfect, they still had messy parts to them. Here are some of the lessons that I truly cherish and that I feel like have given me so much growth in the last few months and years. Romanticize the small things. When I was young, I felt like I needed a big trigger to be happy. I felt like when I have this, I'll be happy. When I'll have this, I'll be happy. And it's only this summer actually that I woke up. I was reading on my balcony. I had my matcha. I was looking at the sun coming up, the sun burning on my skin. And it was at that point that I was like, I am truly happy, even though I don't have my life together at all. There's still so many things that I want to accomplish, so many things that I want to work on, but I am truly happy with the small things, with the mundane things. And it's okay to romanticize your life yourself, because it's only when you do that that you will become truly happy. It's only then that you will see how beautiful your life is. The 27th lesson is stop apologizing for being yourself. I used to say sorry for everything. I always felt like I needed to tiptoe around people just for them to like me. And that goes back to people pleasing, but I feel like it's something different as well. I would literally say sorry for taking up too much space right now. If you feel like I take up too much space, you can go. Like, I am not going to shrink myself any longer, because I feel like if I do that, I would just shrink my career, shrink my opportunities, and I'm not doing that anymore. I want to live big. I want to feel everything that I want to feel, and if you feel like it's too much, then you can just go. The 28th lesson is invest in yourself. Very, very young already, because it will pay you back, whether that's books, whether that's courses, whether that's traveling and doing like an internship abroad. All of those things that you invest in when you're young will come back to you multiplied. What I currently do is I spend 10% of my income every month on growing and learning, whether that's through a book or an online course or anything that you can imagine that you want to invest in. Just try to do that this week or this month. The 29th lesson is your 20s are for practicing for failure and not for perfection. I remember being 24, 25, and I felt like I had to have everything perfectly done. I felt like I needed to constantly work, and I truly felt guilty for partying sometimes or for traveling too much, while it's okay. You're young. You need to experience. You need to fail. You need to see what works out for you, what doesn't work out for you. And feeling guilty is just gonna limit yourself. Because if I look back right now, the real value of my life was through experiments. After all the chaos, after all the travel, after all the heartbreak, I still believe that there's a path in front of me that is so much brighter than I can ever imagine. I am only 30. And looking back through all the lessons that I've learned throughout the years is so it's intimidating on one side, but on the other side, I feel so blessed that I've made it this far. And if I look back, like I have made such a growth, and I wish that you could just look in the mirror and see the same. My 20s were very messy, very chaotic, very painful, but also very beautiful. I learned how to survive, but also how to thrive. If any of these stories that I just shared with you, whether that's from going broke to heartbreak to comparing yourself, if this really resonates with you, I hope that you know that you're not alone. Because asking for help is actually not weak. It's actually a strength. I would say save this video and come back to it when you need a reminder. And comment below which lesson touched you or hit you the most. See you next time.